Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to my Past Lives Masterclass. So this class will go on for about 60 to 90 minutes today. Just an introduction to, gosh, sorry, I'm just playing with my screen here. Introduction to past lives. So, and it's a very important subject for us to get our heads around because it really does. Our past lives really do affect our everyday life hugely. We actually spend 85% of our time in past life energy. And the reason for that is that your soul remembers every lifetime you've ever had. And so as soon as it comes across something familiar in this lifetime, it just wants to act on it because it's just trying to help. But a lot of the times it's not actually appropriate at all for for what you need to be doing at this time. Sorry, just got another, my screen's not working properly. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so, we've all had many, many lifetimes on the earth plane, and I believe in other places as well. It's not just about what we do here on the earth plane, but, we're going to talk today about the lifetimes that we have on the earth plane rather than anywhere else. So the first thing we've got to understand is that we're all souls reincarnating lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And the purpose of all of this is so that we can evolve as souls on a journey. Because as we all know, when we want to learn something in life, we can read a book about it, or we can, we can watch a movie about it. We can watch a YouTube video on structural video on how to do things, or we can read a book, or we can do all those sorts of things. But we all know that when we actually experience something for ourselves, that's when we learn the most. That's when things really start to make sense. And because we have that real physical experience of not only learning something and hearing about it, but also being able to go through the experience. And, when we look at life, 50% of what we do, we learn from, reading or writing or listening. But the other 50% really is from the experience of actually doing something. That's when it really starts to make sense to us all. And that's when we really get the experience. Sorry, people keep coming in and it's not, here we go. Right, should be working now. Another one. Okay, so we've all had many lifetimes, and we tend to reincarnate in soul groups. So a group of you all come to the earth plane. Well, we exist in soul groups. So what that means is that there's about 25 souls to any soul group. And so not all of you will incarnate together into a lifetime. Some of you will incarnate together, and some of you will stay behind in spirit to work as guides for one another. Because your soul group, it's called a soul group because everybody within that group is all at the same level of learning or understanding or evolvement. And so, you all come together. So every time you have a lifetime together, you're having similar experiences so you can assist and help each other along the way. So within that soul group, the people you tend to reincarnate with tend to be more likely to be your brothers and sisters, your neighbors, your colleagues, or your friends. Parents are often from a very different soul group because your parents have a very important lesson to teach you, or lessons to teach you, really, and mainly because they tend to have you under their influence for the first sort of 6 years of your life. And, for the first 6 years, I mean, it's a bit different now with a lot of children being in daycare from a very young age. Their parents don't have quite as much influence over them, or the soul influence over them like they used to have. Now there's teachers and other colleagues and people that step in as well. So when we reincarnate in these groups, we tend to connect with some of the people from your soul group very, very early in life. So they could be, as I said, brothers or sisters, or they could also be, a neighbor. You might grow up somewhere, be the type of person that doesn't move from where you live. So you're born in a certain house and you live there all of your life till you go off and live your own life. So, the neighbors that you spend all that time with become, very involved in your life as well. So you can recognize people from your soul group because when you meet them for the first time or when you spend time with them, it's always very, very easy to be in their energy. It's like those people you've got in life, and you can all know these people as soon as I'm talking about it, those people that as soon as you met them, you just felt instantly comfortable with them, or you felt like you were just taking up where you left off, that you've known this person for forever, their energy feels so familiar to you, so it's very easy to get along with that person, and they're easy people to be around and be with. So sometimes we sort of think of soul groups and those soul connections and your soul mate and your twin flame and all that sort of thing as being someone that the minute you meet them, they're going to sweep you off your feet and it's going to be all moonbeams and rainbows. And it can be like that, it can be like that. But more often than not, it's just that familiarity that, this person feels really good. I feel at home. I feel comfortable with this person. It's really easy for me to be with this person. So can everybody just raise your hand if you've all got people in your life that you can recognize like that? Yeah, good.
Yeah. So you're suggesting there's about 25 in a group? Is that
Yes, but you don't all tend to incarnate together. Some of them will stay behind in spirit to work as your guides. And simply because you know each other so well that you're very able then to assist each other from the other side of the veil as well as on the earth plane, so that you can, help each other go through things. Because it always comes back to the fact that we choose our lives before we're born. So we choose all the people that are meant to come into your life. You chose to come into your life before you were born. And you chose them to come into your life because they've got something to help you with or teach you or help you in some way as part of your learning. And so what's really interesting to understand is that some of the people in your life who have treated you the worst, who have absolutely trashed you and really not shown you any respect or been really horrible to you in some way, can often be your best friend in the spirit world, very much part of your soul group. And the reason is they've sacrificed a lifetime with you as being your friend to help you learn something really important. And it'll be an agreement that you came to with each other before you were born. So it's not like, this is sort of like a curveball that all of a sudden this person that you thought was your friend is going to start being horrible to you. It's all part of the learning, all part of the destiny. And it's so that you can learn things a bit faster. Because the purpose of coming to the earth plane is to fast track your learning. You can spend, as a soul, you can spend your entire existence in the spiritual planes. You never have to come down here. But what happens is when you come here, you fast track your learning. So what that means is that what can take you 1,000 years to learn in spiritual time can take you one lifetime to learn on the earth plane. So, we come here because we think we're going to do it faster and learn things faster. Because at the end of the day, or the very starting point of all of this is your soul, and your soul just wanting to experience and learn things. And to do that, it comes to the earth plane to do so. But like I said, you can do all of your learning from the spiritual realms. But the reason that takes so much longer is because when we're in the spiritual realms, the only emotion that you have up there is love. There is no ego. So there's no fear, there's no aggression, there's no blame, there's no anger, there's no greed, there's no, violence. None of that exists in the spirit world. And so that's why it takes so much longer to learn things up there, because unfortunately on the earth plane, we have the ego and we have the ego self. And so once we come here, everything becomes a lot more complicated. And so, before you're born, you're choosing this life, life where you're going to learn all these lessons, you're going to experience all these things, you're going to go through all of these different things, meet all these people, live in different places. And they're also that you can learn and develop and grow as a soul on a journey. But of course, once we get here, we forget how hard it is down here. And when you're choosing all of these things in the spirit world, all you want to do is succeed, and all you want to do is evolve and be a better version of yourself. But you forget how hard it is once we get down here. Because if you can imagine, if you're only ever living in the existence of love and that sort of energy, then when all of that sort of other negative energy comes in, it really sort of throws you off completely and often makes you feel like you've done it all wrong. You've got to start again. You've got to do things differently. But it's all about learning. So this is the biggest thing that I feel can really help us to evolve and to accept our lives on the earth plane, is to understand that you chose everything that you're going through, or you've been through, or that you're going to go through. You've chosen all of it, and you did not choose anything to suffer. You did not choose to be unhappy, but you did choose to learn some very difficult lessons that are going to be a struggle. Of course they are. And that's where we've got to understand that so often we don't learn anything the first time off. It takes more than one go at something to learn something and to learn a lesson. And so we come down here and we give ourselves these lessons to learn that we believe will help us to evolve and to grow and to be more spiritual, be more evolved in every way. And so, we have to go through the experiences to learn properly. So we've all been kings and queens and had lots and lots of money and lived lives of millionaires or even better. And we've all lived in the gutter. We've all had absolutely nothing and had huge lives of poverty and having to fight for everything that to eat, to live, everything. And we've also had lifetimes we've all been murderers, and we've gone around killing people, and we've also all been murdered. So we have all of these experiences because we need to know. Your soul just wants to know, what does it feel like to be like that? What does it feel like to be murdered? What does it feel like to be a murderer? But as we go through all these lifetimes, the challenge is that we create karma in every lifetime that we live, if we're not careful. But it's very difficult sometimes not to create karma, because once again, while you're in the spirit world making all these plans and having these wonderful dreams of this incredible life you're going to have and how much you're going to learn and evolve, you forget all the things you're going to have to go through to do that learning and to evolve that far. So one of the big challenges can often be, when we come down here, we might have chosen, for instance, to have a lifetime. What's it like to be born with a disability? What's it like to be born having to live your life in a wheelchair because your legs don't work, or your spine doesn't work, or something like that? And again, anybody who chooses to have a life in a wheelchair is a highly, highly evolved soul. Because, we all look at people like that, and you've got to think how hard their life has got to be. Everything is so much more difficult for people like that than it is for us when we're fully able and everything works properly. It's very, very difficult. And so these are very evolved souls who have probably already had many lifetimes of being kings and queens and living in the gutter, and maybe been sports stars, maybe been movie stars, whatever. They've had all those big, flashy lives, and now they want to know what it's like to have a really difficult life, to be really challenged from the very beginning, because their soul wants to know, what does that feel like? What can I learn from being in that situation? And, what we do notice with a lot of people like that is that they've got so much drive, they've got so much determination to do things and to achieve things. And maybe they needed to be put in a wheelchair to develop that much passion for life, so that in their next lifetime, they can come back, we're fully equipped, with their arms and legs or whatever, fully working, but with that drive that they couldn't find in other lifetimes. But because they've had a lifetime in a wheelchair, their soul has understood the benefits and the joy of having a fully functional body. And so it will never discredit that again. It will never make that less again. It will always, strive to use that to do more. So we put ourselves through all sorts of challenges in many lifetimes, but everything is so that we can learn. And this is what I feel is like I said, is really important to, really get your head around, is to come here and look at what we're going through, look at the experiences that you have, and look at what they teach you. Because there's always, I wouldn't say there's always a silver lining, but there's always a lesson there. There's always something you can learn from the experience that's going to help you to move forward. And the only time that we're not succeeding in life, the only time I would ever say that you're failing in life, is when you find yourself repeating the same thing over and over and over again in one lifetime, when you're just not getting it. Because what will happen is, you may say you've had to learn what it's like to be assertive in life. Maybe you're the type of person that never speaks up for yourself or never pushes for anything. And so, to learn this, you're going to go through different experiences. You've decided, okay, I want to learn what it's like to be assertive in this lifetime. So I'm going to find myself, I'm going to choose to have people around me who challenge me, who don't want to listen to what I have to say, or who put me down when I speak, so that I can learn to be assertive. And so, of course, in that learning, it's going to be hard, because you're going to be put down by people. You're going to be challenged by people that who want to talk to you and treat you in a way that you don't deserve, and you should be treated with more respect. And the only way to get over that is to develop that ability to speak up for yourself. So we develop these things, we come into lifetimes, we learn these things so that we can keep evolving. So the next lifetime you have after that one where you've learned how to be assertive, being assertive has been learned. So your next lifetime, being assertive will be easy for you, or something that you can do, and there'll be another challenge that you've taken on instead to learn that time around. So it's all just a journey of learning, lifetime after lifetime. And this is why we get so stuck in our past lives, is because your soul remembers everything that you've ever done in any lifetime. It's just got no idea of chronological order. So, like I said, as soon as it comes across something familiar, go, oh, I remember we did this back in the 13th century. We did this. Let's go back to the 13th century and do it that way again. And of course, that's completely irrelevant to this lifetime, but your soul is just trying to help. And this is where we can find ourselves really, really stuck in past life energy. And you're stuck in past life energy when you keep thinking or doing, or something's happening, and you're doing it, you're sort of aware of why you're doing it on one level, but how serious you're taking it, how much it's affecting you, how much it's hurting you is a whole different level. And it's difficult to understand. It's like people who might be frightened in this lifetime of water, a very, very common fear for people to be frightened of water. And usually the reason for that will be is you've drowned in another lifetime, or something very scary has happened to you regarding water. And so you've brought that fear in. And so you know in this lifetime that you haven't nearly drowned. You have had no experiences in this lifetime where you know you've nearly drowned or had a bad experience in water, yet you've got this overwhelming fear of water, and you do not want to go in it. You certainly don't want to put your head under, because your soul remembers drowning in another lifetime. And so we've got to overcome these things and look at them and think, okay, where's the logic in this? I'm scared of water. I love the water. It's hot here. I need to swim. I want to be in the water. It looks beautiful. Other people can do it. Why can't I? And this is where we need to look at what is holding you back. What in another past life happened to you that has given you such a fear of water in this lifetime that you won't go near it. And the thing that's so important with fear is that that's exactly what we're here to overcome. Because when you overcome your fears, when you face up to what you fear, it has no power over you anymore. And that's really what we're looking for, is to be able to operate in a way where we're not fearful of things. Because I think everybody here, raise your hand if you've had a fear in this lifetime that you've faced, and once you've gotten through it the other side, it's just been so easy and you've wondered what all the bother was about. Yeah. And we do that because we just, and we build things up. This is why, one of the things to do, I often feel, is when you have a fear, is just confront it immediately. Don't let it build up. Don't let it gather momentum. Don't let it turn into a great big thing that you just can't overcome. Deal with it immediately. But, confrontation is another thing most of us run a mile from, because we don't want to argue with people. We don't want to, find ourselves in situations where we might be, people not wanting to hear what we've got to say or not wanting to listen to us. We want to be able to hear, to be heard, and to listen as well. So, it is important to be very aware of why you might be overreacting to something that's going on in your life, because there will always be a deeper meaning for it. And then when you can get into that and find out what that deeper meaning is, you will find the answer. And with a lot of things in life, we also realize once we understand why something's happening or where it's coming from or what it's about, we can start to deal with it. We can get over it. We can confront it. We can heal it. But when we're dealing with something that we have no idea, why on earth do I feel this way? Why do I have this ridiculous fear of something that makes no sense to me whatsoever? Why am I feeling this? It's really hard to solve that mystery, because it is a mystery. You've got to be able to work out, why is this going on and why does it feel like it does to me, so I can get on top of it and start to work with it. So all of your past life lessons and your life lessons are all in your astrology. So they're all in your natal chart. It's very obvious within the chart what your big lessons are that you've come here to learn and why you've come here to learn them. So this class, I'm going to teach another masterclass on Saturday, where it will be a much more individual one, where I will have each of your charts if you attend, and we'll be able to look at those and see exactly what some of your past life lessons are. So, especially if there are things, if you do want to attend the class on Saturday, you could spend some time between now and then thinking about any fears or any things that you might have that you just can't figure out where they come from, or why something that seems like it should only be a little fear in your life is so big and so all-encompassing that it takes over. And then we can have a look at some of those on Saturday and see if we can get to the bottom of them with you and for you. So, we make this plan to have a lifetime before we're born. We come to the earth plane and the ego takes over. And so the ego isn't supposed to take over. The higher self is supposed to always be in charge, but the ego is very powerful, and it's the humanness of us. And so, we can't help but be human. We're here, we're spirits having a human experience. So we have to honor that human part of us, just like we honor the spiritual part of ourselves. But what we've got to realize is that the ego will sabotage and get in the way of everything that you've chosen to come here and learn in this lifetime, because the ego doesn't want you to evolve. It doesn't want you to learn. It certainly doesn't want you to be happy and peaceful. It wants you to be full of drama. It wants you to be upset. It wants to have something going on all the time that it can get its teeth into. And, we don't need that. I mean, it's hard work being stressed out all the time and being emotional all the time and being, all over the place all the time. And there's no need for it if we just can stay a bit more in our higher self energy. So when we have many past lives and other lifetimes, we've had many experiences. And sometimes when we come to the earth plane, like I said, the ego gets in the way. and it will either stop, and it will find some way to stop you from learning those lessons that you've said you want to come here and learn in this lifetime. And so it will do things like it will put people and experiences in your way to stop you learning it. So it can do everything from, making the lessons that you're here to learn, making them you unaware of them. Sorry, I couldn't find the right word. So making those lessons that you need to learn something you just can't see. You can't see what the lesson is. You can't see why you have to keep doing this thing. It keeps presenting itself to you, but you've got no idea why. So you just ignore it. I don't really want to look at that. I don't really like that. So I'm just going to keep ignoring that one, and it'll come back to you, and it'll come back in different shapes and forms, but it will keep presenting itself until you learn it. But sometimes we don't. Sometimes, and there are other times where we know very clearly this is something I really need to face up to. Like it might be that water fear. This lifetime, I really need to learn how to get into water and swim because I love the look of water. I see other people doing it. I really want to do it, but I'm so fearful. So you can either allow that fear to stop you learning that lesson, or you can face it and conquer it. But sometimes, like I said, we don't even see the lessons that we're meant to learn, or they just seem so scary and so huge that we don't want to go anywhere near them. And so what happens then is that we come back and we have to learn that lesson again in another lifetime. And the thing is that when you have a lesson that you haven't learned in one lifetime, and so you choose to come back and learn it again in another lifetime, you make that lesson 10 times harder than it ever was before. And so the lessons get harder and harder. And you're doing this, and when you're choosing this lesson to be really difficult, you're doing it thinking, I'll make it so hard this time, so in my face and so obvious that I would be stupid not to get it. So, you're doing this thinking you're going to help yourself and get through this, but actually what you're doing is making life really hard for yourself in your efforts to do the right thing. So is anybody here listening like to have anything in their lives that they don't understand why they're so scared of? An experience or something they won't go near or they can't stand or that's very fearful of and they cannot understand why it might be there. Is anybody anything they'd like to share? No, all a bit shy? Okay.
For me,
yep.
For me, when I'm in a job,
yeah,
I have what I'm going to say to my manager, but then when I have the opportunity, it just disappears and I turn into this submissive person that I don't like.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, I'm like, what did I do that? It doesn't happen every time.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, I don't know why I do that to myself.
Yeah. So have you, in this lifetime, have you always been able to speak up? Have you always been allowed to? Oh, I've lost your sound.
In this lifetime?
Yes.
No.
Right.
No. I had quite domineering sisters.
Yeah.
And I felt like I had to, because of what they were going through, I couldn't speak.
Right. So that will be part of it, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also, what you might find in past life work is there have been lifetimes where you've been silenced. When you did speak up in another lifetime, you were shot down in flames or something really bad happened. So your soul thinks, oh, I really need to say this. It's important that I speak up. It's important that I speak my truth. But, it remembers I got hung for this in my last lifetime or I got shot in my lifetime. So I'm not going to do it again. It's too scary, but you've got to push through it. So yeah, speaking up can be a big one for a lot of people too. Anybody else got anything that comes up for them?
Yep.
Yeah, Philippa.
Hi, Deirdre. I've got something coming up for me. Academia. Like I feel like I'm stuck in this needing to do academia, and today this morning it came to me. It's probably been programmed from a very early age that was my path, and I didn't take it, and now can't get out of it. But I actually, when I'm in it, I understand it, but when it comes to writing, I just get absolutely blocked, and I get in really upset in a real state.
Yeah.
And
so possibly for you, other lifetimes where you've had the knowledge, but nobody let you express it, or when you tried to express it, nobody understood what you were trying to say.
That makes sense in this lifetime too. But that's blocking me from actually writing.
Right.
I don't know.
So maybe writing's not the best way for you to express yourself. Maybe there's using the spoken word might be better for you than writing. So it's just about learning how we can work around these things to face what that fear is in other lifetimes. I had an experience for myself when I was younger. I was a terrible teenager, and one day I decided, after having 1 or 2 driving lessons, that I could drive a car. I was 14, 15 years old. Of course, I knew how to drive a car. So I pinched my mother's car while she was away for the weekend, took it out of the garage. And at that stage, I was so cool at the age of 14 or 15 or whatever age I was, that I could actually smoke a cigarette and drive a car. So I'm driving down the road, smoking my cigarette, thinking I'm the coolest thing on 2 wheels or 4 wheels. And then I just go to flick my cigarette out the window. And the next thing I know, I'm up on the curb heading for a lamppost. So I slammed the brakes on, didn't hit the lamppost, thank goodness. Got such a fright. Drove back home, scraped the car, putting it back in the garage, so got busted for that. But and I didn't. So I was about 14 or 15. I didn't drive again till I was 25. I was so absolutely terrified of killing myself in a car that I wouldn't go near one. I mean, I was perfectly happy to be a passenger, but I would not get behind the wheel and drive. And in those years, I traveled all over the world. I did all sorts of things, but I just would not drive a car. And then when I came back to New Zealand, I was living a wee way from where I worked, and so I needed to be able to drive to get to work. So I had to learn to drive, and it was terrifying. It was a really, really scary experience for me. But when I did the past life work on it, what I was shown is that back in the early 50s, I'd had a lifetime back then, and I'd been married to a man who didn't believe that women should be allowed to drive. And so I decided, when he went to work one day, that I would take his car and teach myself how to drive if he wasn't going to show me. So I took the car, drove down the road, waved out the window to somebody, and drove into a lamppost and killed myself. And so I saw it all quite clearly in that past life. And so as soon as my soul got the fright that it got in this lifetime, it took me right back to that lifetime, said, do not get another car again, you will die. And so that's why it took me so long to overcome that fear. And I love to drive now. So, it's one of those absolute bonuses of facing a really big fear. And I just absolutely love it now. I can drive all day, every day if I have to. But we have to sort of see where these things came from. And they have such an impact on you. They can be so, so powerful, and the power that they have over you. Has anybody else got anything they'd like to share? Yes, Brandy.
I love animals, like my favorite things. I have no fear of almost anything but snakes for some reason for me, which is pretty common, and such. But yeah, that's a weird thing for me, that I have no idea why snakes. I have like a major aversion to them, when I literally love, I will go pick up any spider or anything else and take it outside. Affection for all animals, but for snakes, I have some weird.
Have you come across snakes in this lifetime?
Sorry?
Have you come across snakes in this lifetime? Have you been around them?
Not too much. And I think that's why I was sitting here trying to think about what it is. But I would say that's one thing in my life that I just don't know where it's come from. It's one of those things where I'm just like, why do I have this weird aversion to them?
Yeah.
And if I have I've actually had a nightmare about them before, and I don't really have nightmares. So it's
absolutely, that's past life then.
Yeah, it must be. Dying to know what that is, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing. Why do I have this aversion towards particular?
Yeah. So it could have been that you were killed by a snake in another lifetime, or someone might have teased you with one or threatened to kill you with one in another lifetime. Because when we look at our other lifetimes, I mean, we've been males, we've been females, we've lived, in hot countries, cold countries, we've lived with nothing, with lots. So, I mean, you could have lived in a country where snakes were everywhere, and you just couldn't sleep well at night because you didn't know if one was going to come into your bed or something like that. Or it could have just been a random experience. So, what can be good for you in this lifetime is to, if you want to face that and get over that fear, is actually to go and make friends with a snake, go to a zoo, and if you can touch one somewhere or something like that, and just see if you can overcome that fear. Because I mean, there's fears like that aren't, see, that type of fear is something, but it's not something that's stopping you from doing something important in your life. Whereas the water one can be, and the fear of heights is another very common one for people too. And that stops people from actually being able to do things that they'd really like to be doing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, good. Thank you. Anybody else got anything they'd like to share? Lisa.
Yeah, I think mine's also confrontation. I have and as you know, recently I've had issues with particular coach being unfair to my children, so it has been quite a big deal for me to sort of step above him and go to and bring it up. But I still one of my daughters, I wrote a letter that I was going to send into the school, and when I read it to my daughter, said, "How do you feel about this?" And they're like, "Well, why send it to school? Why don't you just have this up with him directly?" And I'm like,
yeah. Yeah. So do you think you can face that fear or not?
I think I can. Yeah.
Good.
But
so that'll be a good challenge for you.
Yeah. But I'm thinking it must be something to do, because I've always would always
had that fear of confrontation.
Well, just wanting to be peaceful. I always want to go in with peace, and it's like, well, actually, there's certain situations where things are unfair, and awareness needs to be brought to the. But I find it really challenging to do that. Yeah.
And I also believe that a lot of us who are alive at this time, and especially those of us who are following the spiritual path, are very much from the days of Lemuria and Atlantis. And so there's a lot of remorse and a lot of guilt and a lot of sadness that we didn't get to fix that before Atlantis sunk. So that has carried through for a lot of people into this lifetime, because that's our job in this lifetime, is to make sure that doesn't happen again. So that could very much be for you, being a carryover from that lifetime.
Yeah, that really resonates.
And so with past lives, when you talk about past lives, or when you hear about them, what I found personally for myself, and I think with other people to some extent too, if it's true, if it hits you in the solar plexus. And it's just this feeling when someone says something to you about a past life that just kind of goes, oh, and you can just sort of feel it right in your gut, basically. And if you don't feel anything, it doesn't mean that it's not true. But usually if it really resonates with you and it's something you really need to learn from, your body will tell you by giving you a physical sensation. Because of course your body will respond to anything in the most honest and open way, and it knows the truth. Your body can't lie to you. So that's why a lot of people use muscle testing to find out what's good for them and what's not good for them. And again, your body can't lie, so we use that. So again, when you feel your body physically react to something, or to words or an experience, it's got to be true, or your body wouldn't be reacting like that. So one of the other things, with the other thing with past lives, another thing that we very much recognize with past lives is places. So what that can mean is that you can go places, or throughout your lifetime, you can have always felt very drawn to a certain country or a certain place, and just sort of fascinated with it for no apparent reason, that you just have always wanted to go to this country. You like the clothes that are there, or the scenery, or the landscape, or whatever it is, but there's always been this sort of pull, this attraction to a certain country. And that usually would mean that you've had strong past lives there. And they could be very positive past lives, or they could have been very challenging ones. But that, when you keep thinking about a place, and that thinking is like, oh, I must go there one day, I really like to go and see that place, it usually is because there's old energy there that needs to be tied up or finished off in some way. So always answer those calls, especially because the thing with spiritual, with the way we work with the spirit world, is anything that's part of your contract or what you're supposed to do in this lifetime, you will be reminded about. So it'll just be a little thought that keeps coming back and keeps coming back and keeps coming back. But as we all know, we have a million ideas in any day, and some of those ideas disappear. They're just a random thought. They're there for a moment and gone, or some of them are just there for a day or so. But those thoughts, or those places, or those ideas that keep coming back and always have come back to you, are very much part of your life path. That's spirit reminding you, this is something you said you were going to do. This is a place you said you were going to go to. So don't, those places that have always been in the back of your mind, there's a reason for it. It's not just a fantasy. You're actually meant to go there because there's something there for you. So I remember a friend of mine years ago, all his life, he had this really strong feeling that he needed to go to Perth. He needed to go and live in Perth, go to Perth. He just kept hearing Perth, 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 which is a place in Australia. If anybody here doesn't know where Perth is, we've got to go to Perth. And he lived in New Zealand. And so one day he decided, okay, now's the time, packed up all of his belongings, everything into a big container, had everything shipped over there, moved over there himself, got there, met a woman who said to him, you need to go and have a reading with this other lady. Now, this guy wasn't a guy who did readings very often at all. But for whatever reason, he felt compelled to do what this lady told him. So he went and had this reading, and he never told me what the lady said to him. But the next day he packed everything up and came back to New Zealand. So he needed to go to Perth to hear something. But because it was so insistent and so there in his head going Perth, Perth, Perth all the time, he thought, well, I must be meant to move there. Otherwise, that's why it's so insistent. I must have a whole life there. I must have a whole whole lot of stuff is meant to happen for me in Perth, so I better get myself over there. But it was just the conversation that he had needed to have with this woman was all that he needed. And then he came back here, and he hasn't left what he's traveled, but he hasn't gone to live anywhere else since. So, you know, it's good to pay attention to those thoughts and ideas and things that don't go away. So when you do go to, I mean, does anybody here put your hand up if you've been to a place that you've been drawn to and had a really interesting experience there? Yeah?
Yeah.
Good. And sometimes those can be really good experiences, and sometimes they can be quite challenging experiences. But, you know, that's all your soul taking you back there because there's unfinished energy, because everything is energy. And so, you know, when we talk about love at first sight is past life energy, where in another lifetime you were in love with a person and that energy never got a chance to be used up. So an example of this could be that you were a woman and you were betrothed to be married to a young man, and it was the 1939, and your husband or your boyfriend, husband-to-be, went off to war and he didn't come back. And so because of that, you know, you were going to get married, you were going to have children, you were going to do all of these things together, and you never got a chance to do it in that lifetime because it was cut short by him dying. So that energy never got to be used up. So the minute you come into contact with that person in this lifetime, that energy comes back up again, because it's something between you that's still connected that needs to be used up. And this is where we get love at first sight. You could be happily married in a wonderful relationship, you know, no problems whatsoever in your life, thinking everything was just fine. And then suddenly someone from a past life wanders into your life and bang, your world gets turned upside down. And it can be really, really difficult because it's not what you intended. It wasn't what you wanted, but the energy needs to be used up. Now, my teacher, Margaret, had the most wonderful example of this, where she, when she was in her, I guess she was about 40 or in the early 40s, and her son was studying at university. And every weekend he'd come home from university for the weekend and stay at university during the week. And his best friend would also come home with him because he lived a lot further away, so it was easier for them to come back to his place. So he'd come home, and there was this energy, this attraction between this young boy who was about 20 and our teacher, Margaret, who was about 40, which of course they felt was completely inappropriate and just really not okay. But it was there. She said that their hands used to meet over the marmalade pot in the morning and things like that, all this exciting sort of sexual chemistry energy going on all the time, but very inappropriate. And so one day they got the opportunity to speak to each other. And they sat down, and they decided that they needed to go out on a date together, go out and have a meal together, and then see what happened after that. So they went out and they had a lovely dinner together. And then after they'd finished dinner, they went and parked up somewhere in the car. And so they're sitting there in the car, and Margaret said she just turned around to him and she took both of his hands in hers, and he took her hands, and they just stared at each other in the eyes. And she looked at him and she said, "I really, really love you." And he looked back at her and said, "I really, really love you too." And then bang, it was done, gone. Then they're just sitting there looking at each other, go, "Okay, we better go home now." Because that was the only thing left over from that other lifetime that they'd had together. They'd never had the chance to tell each other how they felt. So as soon as they actually got to do that, that was all that was needed. That energy was used up. The attraction was gone. They still liked each other, but there was no attraction there anymore. There was just a normal relationship between an older woman and a younger guy. And that was completely just went back to a normal relationship because the energy had been used up.
Wow.
And sometimes that energy, though, is sexual energy. And so the sexual energy has to be used up too, which is when, you know, people have affairs. If they're happily married, they just get swept away by something. And usually what they find is they might have sex with the other person, use up that energy, and then it's gone. But, you know, by then the deed's done. So you've already sort of messed things up a little bit. But usually that would be those sort of sudden affairs or sudden attractions that you just could not pull yourself back from. You just could not help yourself because that energy was so forceful and so strong. So I'm not saying that it's a good thing for you to do, but I'm saying it happens, and that, you know, there's reasons for it that aren't about you being a bad person, but it's just energy that pulls you back to where you were before. And the other thing with that is people that you meet for the first time that you instantly dislike. You take one look at that person, you think, "Do not come near me, don't speak to me, go away, I don't like you, there's something about you that's really, I don't know, I don't like it, it makes me feel uncomfortable." But the thing is if that person's come back into your life The reason you're reacting like that is that that person has wronged you in another lifetime, but they're back in your life this time to make up for whatever that wrong thing was that they did to you. So the thing is not to turn your back on somebody like that, to just allow things to play out and see what happens next. Because it could be that you're at a party or something like that and you've lost your car keys when it's time to go home, and that's the person that finds your car keys for you, or something very simple like that, or lends you the money you need for a taxi to get home, whatever it might be. And as soon as they do that, the debt is paid back, and so the energy is then negated, and you're back to square one, that person and you become just, nothing sort of between you anymore. And that's how we know when we're sort of through a past life thing, is when we become indifferent to the person, not necessarily disliking them or not wanting anything to do with them, but they're not that a big important person or that big important energy that they used to be. So another thing that's very interesting with past lives is deja vu, which is something we've all experienced. Now, when you choose your life before you're born, after you've chosen it and all the details and sat down with the Lords of Karma and worked out what your life's going to be about, you sit down and you watch a movie of that life. So just so that you get to see exactly how it's going to pan out and what it's going to look like and all that sort of thing. And so when you experience deja vu in this lifetime, it's remembering that movie, and it's basically like a signpost to tell you you're exactly where you're meant to be at this time. This is part of your plan. This is what you set out to do, and this is a little like signpost to say, yep, you're on track. This is where you should be. So has everybody experienced deja vu? Yeah, very common thing to experience, and it's just so it's not like I've done this before. It's like I'm remembering my plan for this lifetime. So it's a very positive thing to have happen to you every now and then. So many things happen to us in other lifetimes that can manifest in this lifetime physically, because the easiest way for the body to release anything is through the physical body. So any emotion, that's so often, people who are under a lot of stress, for instance, could, get really bad migraine headaches because the body's releasing the stress in a physical way, because that is the easiest way for the body to do it. So often what can happen with past lives is that we bring through the injury or the learning from another lifetime, and it shows up physically on our bodies in this lifetime. So my daughter, when she was 15, 16 months old, she grew a big tumor on the inside of her forearm, on her left arm. And it grew very quickly and very suddenly. And so I took her to the doctor, and he got her into surgery, and we had it removed. And then when she was 5, it grew back again. So she had to have more surgery and have more operations on it. So she's now got a massive scar sort of down her arm here. And, it's quite a big, obvious scar. And so what was really interesting, though, was that when she was little, she was a lovely baby. She was really friendly. She was happy to go to anybody. She was everybody's friend. But the GP or the doctor we had then, the minute she came into contact with him, she would scream the place down. She wouldn't let him anywhere near her. And he was such a nice man. He was very gentle and sweet. And I really felt sorry for him because she was really mean to him, but she just did not like him. So when I met my teacher was after Phoebe, my daughter, had these operations. And my teacher looked at her arm and said, do you know what that's about? And I told her what I've just told you about the tumors. And she said, no, actually, that's a past life wound. And so she told me what had happened. And my daughter was standing there. She was about 7 at the time when she told me this. And so she's standing there listening. And she said, when your daughter was about 14 years old in another lifetime, it was an Arab lifetime. And she went down to the local bazaar and she saw all these jewels there, and she stole one, and she was caught. And when they caught her, rather than amputating her arm, which they often would do with thieves, is they branded her on that arm, right across that forearm there. She was branded as being a thief. And so the minute Margaret told the story, Phoebe just burst into tears and started crying. And she said, but it was so beautiful, Mum. I had to have it. It was just the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. And so she remembered what had happened to her in that past life. And what was even more interesting was the fact that was the GP, my GP then, was the man in that past life who'd branded her. And that's why she had a meltdown every time she came into contact with him, because her soul's going, oh, that's that mean man that hurt me in the other lifetime. I'm not going to let him anywhere near me. But he had repaid that debt that he owed her by doing that to her in another lifetime. He repaid the debt to her. And so all of that energy was cleared. She never stopped crying around him, but the energy was clear. So, and so it manifested as something physical for her to release again in this lifetime. So that can often be something where other things we can find are wounds or injuries or disabilities or illnesses that we can't track to where they came from in this lifetime, or why we've got that thing wrong with us in this lifetime. It's because it's an old injury from another lifetime that's manifesting itself in this lifetime to help you release the old energy that you're holding on to. So the other thing with past lives, and we're going to do a meditation after this, after we've talked about this, is our ancestors. So we all inherit karma from our ancestors. And when we think about the karma and things that we inherit from our ancestors, we often tend to look at the negatives, but we must remember there's also a lot of positives that we get from our ancestors as well. So you might want to just take a moment or two to think about this before we do the meditation, of what things that you can see have come down your family lines. So whether that be down your father's line or your mother's line, perhaps there's always been alcoholism in the family. Perhaps there's been a lot of divorce. Perhaps there's been, excuse me, a lot of unwed mothers. Perhaps there's been a lot of poverty, or perhaps there's been a lot of wealth. What has gone on lifetime after lifetime that you can see that. So because in this lifetime, one of the other purposes in this lifetime for all of us is we're clearing the karma once and for all, because spirit is sick of us coming back lifetime after lifetime to clear karma that we end up creating more karma for. So they want us to clear it all this time round. And that's why many people are having very difficult lives, because they've loaded themselves up with so much karma to repay in this lifetime. But it's all part of what you said you were going to do and what you've come here to do. And the beauty of it is when you clear this karma. So to clear the karma, you don't repeat the pattern of behavior. So say it's alcoholism going back through the family. Well, you become the one who isn't the alcoholic. Or perhaps there's divorce all through your lifetimes, or your ancestors' lifetimes. So you become the couple that work through it and don't go down the divorce track. I mean, just because everyone's in your family's divorced and you're in a horrible marriage doesn't mean you've got to stay in it just to break the karma. If you're not happy, of course you don't do that. But if there's opportunities for you to work through things rather than take that way out, then that is an opportunity, something you can do there. So, there's often things that and you can look and you can see perhaps your father's one's like that, maybe your grandfather was like that, and then maybe your brothers are like that. And again, with your mother was like that, your grandmother was like that, maybe some of your aunts or your sisters have inherited that behavior or that way of being, which also needs to change. So we're coming into this lifetime to get rid of all of that by facing up to it. So again, it's about facing up to things and changing things around, changing that energy. That becomes so ingrained in us, but it doesn't need to be. We choose to ingrain it. You've got a choice in every lifetime what you're going to do with it. And you can get rid of that ingrained energy and sort of shift it completely. And when you do that, you clear the karma 7 generations back and 7 generations forward. So you're protecting your children and your grandchildren and so on and so on. So it's a really powerful thing to do. So there are many things, like all of us, when I talked earlier, we come into each lifetime with these lessons we have to learn. And for your ancestors, they also would have come in with the opportunity to clear that karma too. So either they were too scared to, they didn't know how to, they didn't get the support that they needed to be able to do it well. All of these different things could have happened to them that meant that they couldn't do what they wanted to do or repay that karma the way they were supposed to. So they have instead, handed it on to you to do for them. But, you wouldn't have chosen to be here at this time on the earth plane if you were not capable of this. Yeah. And so it's always a good thing to remember is you are here because you chose to be here. And because we're alive at such an incredible time on the earth plane where, so much, the biggest shift that humanity has ever seen is all around us and all happening, you've chosen to be here to play a role in this. And your past lives will have a lot to do with that. Because in other lifetimes, maybe you failed to fix something that you're here to fix in this lifetime. Or maybe you failed to, develop yourself in a way that could be better and be more useful to people. Because we all come into every lifetime with gifts and talents. And our job is to develop those, to become the best you can be at whatever it is you do well. And then you must share it. And this is where a lot of people get stuck, where they develop these things, they become very good at them, but they don't share them with anybody. And that's such a shame. You brought all this knowledge in, these gifts in, and other people can benefit from them. So don't be afraid to share what you know and what you feel, especially in these times moving forward, now that we're really in the age of Aquarius, it's all about innovation. It's all about the new ways forward, new ways of solving old problems. And we've got to keep moving in that direction, not going back to try and fix things in the old-fashioned way that just doesn't work anymore. So with our gifts and talents that we inherit from our ancestors as well, I mean, they can be anything from being an amazing cook to being, a professional at something, or it could just be that you're very good with people. You're a very good listener. Your family, you come from a long line of good listeners, or a long line of people who are kind and like to do things to help other people, who are selfless. And so if that's the case, then you promote that, you become more of that energy to pay back those generations where that was thrown back in their faces or not appreciated by other people before. Okay, so looking at my notes here. So yeah, and so you might be able to also see when you look back at your ancestors where they have failed to grow and evolve. When we look at opportunities that are given to us in this lifetime and given to our parents and grandparents, etc., how many of those opportunities did you take, or how many did you run away from simply because you didn't think they were for you, or you couldn't do it well enough, or you just didn't want to do it? So all of that can be opened up as well to you, so you can see what you can do to help your ancestors as well. So we're going to do a meditation now with the ancestors, to see if we can get some insight into your ancestral karma that you might be carrying, and what you can do to clear that, or work with it, or enhance it in some way. So just get yourselves comfortable, and I'll get some music sorted. Okay, if I could just ask everybody to mute their microphones. And Brandy, I've got you on the top of my screen. Can you hear the music?
No. Can
you hear it now?
No.
Okay, one more time. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And is the sound okay? It's not too loud? Okay, great. Thank you very much. Okay, so if everybody just closes their eyes, take a big deep breath in through your nose, let it out through your mouth, and just allow yourself to relax. Another big deep breath in, filling up your lungs and stomach, and then just letting it all go. One more big deep breath in, and just holding this breath for a second or two, and then just letting it all go. I call on the energy of the Ascended Masters, the Archangels, the Arcturians, the Palladians, our Lemurian family and ancestors, the Dragon Fae, and all of our loved ones in the highest realms, to bring through today only the highest wisdom, the highest protection, and the highest unconditional love for all present. Thank you. I'd like you to imagine or visualize that just above your head is a beautiful golden radiating down on you with the love and the light of the universe. And just feeling this warm, soothing energy slowly making its way all around your face and your scalp. Just your eyes gently closed, your jaw unclenched, your brow unfurrowed. Nothing to think about, nothing to worry about. Just letting everything go now as you gently breathe in and breathe out. And now this calm, soothing energy is making its way down through your neck, relaxing all the muscles and cords in your neck, and relaxing your throat. Nothing to speak about, nothing to worry about. just letting it all go as you go deeper and deeper with every breath that you take. And now feeling this beautiful, soothing energy making its way across your shoulders. Just releasing all of the burdens that you may carry here. Just allow those shoulders to drop. Nothing to carry, nothing to worry about. And now the energy moves down through your arms, relaxing your biceps, relaxing your elbows, relaxing your forearms, and down into your wrists, your hands, and every one of your fingers. And now the love and the light of the universe is making its way down through your back, relaxing all the bones and muscles in your back, and just feeling your spine relax. Very, very calm now, very, very peaceful as you go deeper and deeper into meditation. And now this warm, soothing energy is making its way down through the front of your body, relaxing your chest and relaxing your torso. Just feeling your breathing slow down, your heartbeat slow down, everything just becoming so much more calm, so much more quiet as you go deeper and deeper and deeper. And now the energy makes its way into your hips and your pelvis, releasing any stress that you may carry here. Just allow yourself to sink into your seat. Very, very calm now, wonderfully peaceful as you go deeper and deeper into meditation. And now the love and the light of the universe is making its way down through your legs, relaxing the mighty muscles in your thighs that work so hard to keep you upright every day, and relaxing your knees, and then down through your shins and your calves, soothing, calming, relaxing energy. And now it drops down into your ankles, your feet, and your toes. Your whole body now, from the top of your head to the tips of your toes, is in a wonderful state of relaxation. You feel very, very calm, very, very peaceful, and very, very safe in this wonderful energy you created today. And I'd like you to imagine that you're standing in the middle of a beautiful park. It's a warm summer's day, and there is a pond there in the park with ducks. There's grass and trees all around you. People here and there on this quiet, sunny day. It's very, very peaceful. There's children on bicycles, dogs chasing balls. It's a lovely park. And I'm going to leave you now for a moment or two to just take a little wander around this park and enjoy what you can see and feel going on here. And now you find a nice park bench to sit yourself down on, feeling very calm, very, very peaceful. And as you look up in front of you, you see two figures coming towards you. And you recognize them, or the energy they carry, as being your ancestors. One from your mother's line and one from your father's line. They each have a story to tell you today about your ancestral karma, about the energy that they need you to assist them with at this time. And now your mother's ancestor steps forward to tell you her story of something you need to know about that ancestral line. I'll leave you now for a moment or two to listen to what she has to say. And now you thank your ancestors for the karmic information they have shared with you. And you ask them now, what gifts and talents do they have that you could celebrate, that you could evolve and develop in this lifetime to become your own gifts and talents to share with others? I'll leave you now for a moment or two to listen to your ancestors' words and see what gifts and talents are waiting for you. And now you thank that ancestor from your mother's line for the information that they've shared with you today. And then you turn to the ancestor from your father's line. And this ancestor is now going to tell you of the karma, of the challenges that you're here to clear for that side of the family. I'll leave you now for a moment or two to listen to what the ancestor from your father's side of the family has to share with you regarding the karma that is yours to clear in this lifetime. And now you thank that ancestor for the karmic lessons they have shared with you. And you ask them, what gifts and talents can you develop of theirs and bring and share to the earth plane at this time? And now you thank your father's ancestor for the knowledge that he has shared with you today. And they thank you for all that you have done, all that you are doing, and all that you have yet to do. You are blessed, you are loved, you are divine. And then they are gone back to the spirit world. And you're sitting on the park bench on that lovely summer's day, feeling very, very relaxed, very, very calm, and a little bit lighter and more aware of who you are and what your purpose is in this lifetime. And now it's time to slowly come back to your room and back to today. Just slowly feeling the energy return to your fingers and toes. So you slowly come back to your room and back to today. Slowly coming back now. Little by little, bit by bit. Time to close your eyes and come back to this room. Okay. So I hope you all enjoyed that and got a little bit of insight, hopefully, from your ancestors down one or both lines, hopefully. So like I said earlier, I'm running another masterclass on Saturday, and this one will be at 9 a.m. Saturday morning, New Zealand time. And this is a paid masterclass, this one. It'll be for about 3 hours, and the cost is just $33. But what I'm going to do, when you sign up for this one, I'll be sending you all out the link. You can give me your birth details, and then we can look exactly at what your past life lessons are for this lifetime and give you a little bit of insight into what you've personally come in here to clear, to work with from your own experiences in other lifetimes, what you still need to develop, what you still need to overcome, or what you just need to be a bit better at, whatever it might be. It'll all show up in those in your natal chart on Saturday. So thank you all for being here today, and I hope you've all enjoyed it. And yeah, I'll be sending you out an email and plus posting it up on my Facebook page if you don't get the email with the details for Saturday if you'd like to come along and join. Love to see you all again there. So have a lovely rest of your day wherever you might be in the world, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Thanks, Deidre.
Bye-bye.